How's it going, guys? I wanted to just share with you today some knowledge I learned within the last 24-hour period. And I'm thinking of making this a series because I'm constantly researching anyway. So I figure you guys may as well know what I'm up to and maybe use some of this knowledge for yourself. Now, you may know these techniques already. I already knew one of the techniques I'm going to show you here, but it's kind of good to refresh your memory, and you probably learn something new in every one of these videos. That's my intent. So the first thing I wanted to start this video off with is this Saturn in the ninth house. Okay, so I'm not going to tell you whose chart this is, but one of my friends, this is actually one of my friend's charts, and that Saturn ninth house right there, you can see the person should be strict in their belief system, which is correct, this person is, but she brought up to me a really interesting point. She ended up staying friends with people that were born at very similar times to her. She actually has a friend that's born one day behind her, but at the exact same time. And she doesn't understand why they couldn't get along. And this is exactly it. Well, she knew why. She said it was because she's really religious, this other girl. But yeah, the question was essentially like, if we're born at basically the same time, shouldn't we be very similar? And it was such a good question because right away, this Saturn in the ninth house, that explains so much. One person becomes rigid in the sense that they don't believe in religion and they won't. And the other person became rigid in believing in religion. Okay. So it was a really cool thing to notice there, to see how the planets are actually playing out. They're doing the same job, just in a different way. One father taught strict religious beliefs. And obviously there was issues with the father either way because of this planet, but because the house it's sitting in. But, it was just so cool to see that one child ended up, not believing in religion, and the other was super into religion. And she even told me that, I said, well, you don't believe in God. Well, that's fine, but you're not even going to be able to reevaluate that belief until your mid-30s. And she said, oh man, I don't ever want to reevaluate that belief. So I thought that was really funny too. This position will make it so that you don't want to change your beliefs. So whatever you have at the time, as you grow into your beliefs, they really just stick. So, not my favorite position usually, but if you have good beliefs and you get along with the person, then you'll really get along with them. They'll never surprise you with some way out of nowhere thinking. So that's it can be a very good thing, and in this case it is a good thing. So that's what I wanted to mention with Saturn in the ninth house, and I wanted to bring up that point that people born at the same time or similar times, they can be very different, and this is an example of why. Okay. So let's move on to the second thing. I have Elon Musk's chart here again, and I know I did it in the last video, but and the next videos will definitely use someone else's chart. But I just wanted to do this as an example because I already had this chart fresh in my mind, and we never covered relationships with Elon Musk, so that's something else I wanted to cover here. I want to show you a technique that you may already know if you're into Vedic astrology, but I wanted to test it in Elon Musk's chart just to see what we'd find. So, and I also have a question about this. If somebody knows, please leave it in the comments. But I'll show you as I do with this technique, and then I'll show you the question I have. So the way this works essentially is every house is basically ruling over you based on the years you've been alive. Okay, so first house, 1 year old, second house, 2 years old, third house, 3 years old, fourth, and so on. So by the time we come back around to 12 here, 1 now becomes 13, and then 14 the second house, 15 the third house, and so on. So just taking a look at Elon Musk's life, if we check his date of birth here, 1971. So can we use this technique to predict his first relationship? And the answer is maybe. So I tried this, and if we look here, we just swing this around. Let's say this is now 25, because 24 would be here in the 12th house. 25 first house, 26, 27, 28. Okay, 28 years old. Now he's got the 7th Lord active. Now my question actually regarding this whole technique, if anyone knows, is does the month matter? Because this technique would work perfectly if January was also that first house, right? And that wasn't explained in KRS's video. But because obviously his birthday is in June, so now does that mean that there's some overlap? Like some of this may be 3rd house and some of this may be 4th house. So basically what I think is happening here, and someone can confirm this in the comments, his 1-year-old self is part of 1971 and 1972. Would be his first house, because even though the year changes to 1972, June is still over halfway through the year, so it wouldn't make sense that he wouldn't get a full year with that first house. Hopefully that makes sense. You can rewind it if you need to, and let me know. But if that is true, then this technique is working, and it should make sense. But basically, I checked into this, and we're not just going to search his age, because that probably is less accurate than searching the day. So what we're going to do here is 1971 plus 28. So 71 plus 28 comes out to 99. And so if we search Elon Musk 1999, we can see what happened. So in 1999, he co-founded XCOM, an online financial service, which I think was that PayPal? That may be PayPal. But anyway, obviously that 7th Lord became active because now he's got his partnership, which activated his 7th house. So that's another way to use astrology, is you just simply go by the years someone's alive, and you'll see what something significant has to happen regarding that house in that year. And the reason I bring this up too is that if we look at Elon Musk's marriages, okay, you'll see right here his first marriage was in 2000, okay, which is 1 year later. So it would land him in the 5th house. But do we know, based on this time, like this system is working, assuming that we're calculating the months as well, because a few months back he could still be in his 4th house. Does that make sense? I hope it makes sense. So just to reiterate a little bit here, the strategy you use is you look at the houses. First house is 1 year, 2nd house is 2 year, 3rd house is 3 years old. All the way back around now, 12th house is 24 years old. First house is 25, 26, 27, 28, right? But that would only be if he was born in January. So there could be some overlap, and it looks like that's what's happened, because you can predict 7th Lord when that becomes active. There's a very good significant chance of marriage. But it looks like there might be some overlap. Okay, so please answer that question if you know. If you don't, that's fine. This technique is working pretty well for me. Now, if we look, he actually divorced as well. So let's check when he divorced. 2008. Now, I wanted to say here, let's take this house here. Let's start with this house, because like I said, it was 2000. So let's start with this house. 2000, 2001, 2002, 2003, 2004, 2005, 2006, 2007, 2008. So, wait, is that actually working? Interesting. Now let's take a look at, let's assume that this is about the area where his seventh lord is falling into. Okay, because obviously this first house wasn't in January. And if that doesn't make sense, go back and rewatch just so you can understand the technique and what my question is. But let's assume the seventh lord was here. 2000, 2001, 2002, 2003, 2004, 2005, 2006, 2007, 2008. In 2008, his K2 becomes active. What does K2 do? If you've seen the KRS videos, as I learned, it breaks off the relationships. Okay, it doesn't do it every time. Sometimes marriages will work out, but especially having his Saturn with Venus, it meant that since he married before 35, it really wasn't going to work out. And you saw that the exact year, assuming that I'm correct about this month system being a little bit off, was the year he actually got divorced. So I thought that was pretty fascinating knowledge, guys. If you like it, please like the video, subscribe to the channel. And if you have any questions, let me know. If you know the answer to that question, if I'm right about the months being a little bit off, then please let me know as well. Thanks. Cheers.